I want to tell you my telepathy tape story. A friend of mine sent me this text and he's like, you gotta listen to this. I mean, who wouldn't listen to something called telepathy? I put it on, episode 1, episode 2, episode 3. Finally, I'm like, holy cow, this is real. This podcast is revealing something that I have known deep inside and I dare not speak about because it wasn't spoken about in my circles. You know, I was the head of HR for a large university. I was the head of big departments. I worked in the corporate space. Don't talk about telepathy at work. So I was like, ooh, this is really cool. And it was starting to gain traction. Other people were talking about it. And a friend of mine was invited to do some work on the documentary. I was kind of in the space of these people making this amazing podcast and then documentary. I was invited to give 5 archetypes mentorship to some of the people working on the podcast and on the movie. As we're working together and they're thriving and learning new things and figuring out how to access their own center and how to live with integrity and how to understand themselves and each other better through this ancient methodology of the 5 archetypes. I'm also slowly revealing that, oh yeah, and by the way, I have this other thing going on. I see this interconnected field. I see kind of what's between the parts of ourselves where we think that we have this like unique identity and something else is coming up against it and causing us harm or causing us pain or discomfort. And there's something in between there. There's a whole massive universe in between who I think I am and the stuff that's happening to me. So I started, mentoring these people working on the telepathy tapes. One day, one of them said, we're looking for somebody like you who knows and does and sees what you see to be on season 2. It's interesting to me because shortly before I was invited, I took a walk out in Cape Cod. It was a time of year where tourists aren't really there, so it's very, very quiet. And it was just me and what I call the dudes. We converse about important things and so they're like, Carey, they said, when you look back on your life, do you want to be just so happy that you hid your truth, that you hid who you were behind a buttoned up version of someone who was, good at helping people with relationships and communication in the corporate world and maybe helping a handful of people? Or option B, behind curtain number 2, they said, if you're willing and open to sharing who you are, to being your true authentic self and not hiding this, call it psychic abilities or this capacity to see and help people. If you're willing to do that, many, many, many people will be able to be helped through what you teach. And they showed me, they said, 2026 is going to be much worse than 2025. And in our little conversation, I'm sitting there like, no, it ain't. That's not possible. And they're like, yeah. And they showed me an image of what looked like the ground splitting. So like there was a chasm that opened up underneath people and it was dark. It was mysterious. You don't know what was underneath there, but lots of people were falling through it. And there was a sense of, think about it. It was dark. We don't know what's at the bottom. We don't know if we're going to survive. It was a lot of panic, a lot of fear. And they said to me, by me being true about who I am and coming out in a way in my truth and then sharing this capacity of the 5 archetypes, I could actually put wings. They showed me put wings on the people who felt like the ground was breaking beneath them and that they were falling and that they would have hope. They believed that even though it felt like everything was falling away, everything we could trust is disappearing, they remembered that they had wings. And they remembered that they have the capacity inside to fly and to soar and to thrive in the face of fear. I'm like, yeah, I'll take that one. And they said, well, go for it. So I went home, I changed my websites, I dipped a pinky toe in the water and was like, all right, I teach consciousness, even though I'm like, I don't want to call it that. It's so much more than that. But it's evolved. Within days of that, I was invited to be a guest on the Telepathy Tapes and share my full story. And share I did. It felt scary, but it also felt liberating. I hope you've listened to it. I hope that maybe it inspires you to feel like you can share your truth too and show up and be who you are. If there's anybody who doesn't like your true, honest, beautiful self, maybe that's not the right people to be hanging out with. So that's how I got on the telepathy tapes.